Welcome to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan. We're going to be talking about the PGA Tour and their edition of the March Madness and the brackets that they put together. And I think it's going to be just as exciting as some of the games that we've seen the last several days here in NCAA hoops. And honestly, there's no better PGA betting professional to have on this show than ESPN's David Bearman, who's the deputy editor of sports content and the creator of that awesome show that everybody loves called The Daily Wager. That features another great sports betting analyst in Doug Kazarian and Stanford Steve and many others that come on that show. So, you know who my guest is today. Welcome to the show, David. You had another winning week last week at the Honda. You helped me win another one in DFS by taking one guy out and putting another guy in, and that was the difference.
Well,
So, how's your week going?
What was the guy you took out?
I was thinking that when I said that, and I can't remember off the Naismith.
Yes.
Yep, I took Naismith out.
Who'd you put in?
I put in. You want me to look it up quick?
No,
I can't.
no,
My mind's mush from the college. Yeah, I can do it real quick. It's just fun.
As long as you won, that's good. Yeah, it was a good week. We had some good action on Sunday and a couple of head-to-heads that went the right direction, and just seeing guys like Sung J M, who you put a lot of work into having his success there, and he obviously finished in the top 10. That was good. That was a good payout. And Russell Henley was right there after day one and faded a little bit over the weekend, but backed it up on Sunday to get another top 10. So I have talked on the show many times about it's not necessarily who wins, but necessarily who you bet and how they finish. And getting two top 10s definitely helps out.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to pull it up on my phone, and my headphones actually connected to the phone by mistake. But I heard what you were saying. So, with this event, we have 16 groups of 4 golfers each. It's a round robin. It reminds me of my days coaching youth baseball in that 12 to 17 age group, where you would go to a tournament, usually a pretty sizable tournament. You would have a round robin where you'd play all 3 teams, and whoever came out of that particular group or pool then advanced. In the golf, it's a lot bigger. So you have 16 times 4. I think the last time I checked is 84 golfers, and it is by invitation of the world ranking. Is that right, David?
Yes, but 64, not 84. But 64, just like the NCAA tournament, once you get down to 64 teams, 16 groups of 4. And it's different than anything you see during the stroke play events, and that's why I like this. Not so much because of the bracket, but because of the match play. When I golf, I'm in a match play mode when I play, so I like seeing that and love the match play.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, especially at my age. As you know, I just turned 60 last week, and I only say that because nobody actually has told me I look 60, and I guess that's a good thing, right? But at my age, I'm not as long as I used to be. So when I play these club matches against other clubs, it's a thrill to be 40 yards behind the kid, and the kid could be 25, and know that I'm going to put the pressure on him by hitting it into the green. And I think there's a lot of outstanding matchups in these pools. And I do think, David, this is an event that if you're a dog lover, dog betting lover, I don't think there's a better event on the planet than this one, because it gives you the opportunity. Go ahead.
This is the event where sure, a favorite can win, but there's no value in picking the favorite in this event. You got to get out of your group play, and then it's head-to-head the rest of the way. And it's pretty much head-to-head the whole way, but you at least have if you lose one early, you can recoup and go 2-1 in your group. If you lose 2, you're not getting out of the group. But then it's head-to-head knockout stage. So golf, like any sport, and I was going to compare it to the NCAA tournament as saying it's the opposite, because the NCAA sees the cream rise to the crop, and then 2021 hits and all these upsets that happen. It's one tournament that has the most amount of upsets of all time. But under a normal NCAA tournament, you still have your 1s and your 2s make it far. You'll have your Cinderella dreams. But this match play in Austin is not one where you're going to go take the 4 number 1 seeds and put them in there. You're not going to take your 4 number 2 seeds and put them in there. Could they make it? Absolutely. DJ, top player in the world. He's earned that ranking. He could absolutely win this like he won it in 2017. but he also could lose in group play and not make it out, which he's done each of the last 2 years. He's lost in group play. So it's one of those situations where anybody can win it. Kevin Kisner won it 2 years ago and finished runner-up the year before. Didn't have a high seed at any point in time. We've had 62 seeds, which would be equivalent to a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament, actually a 16 seed, making it all the way to the Final Four. So this is the type of event where, like you said, if you like dogs, play them, not just overall to win, but you can get guys like, and I can't believe I'm admitting this on air, but Sergio Garcia, who you see me fade all the time. Sergio's a great match play player, Ryder Cup experience with 9 different Ryder Cups. He knows how to play this course. Austin is where he considers home. He's not even the favorite to win his own group. You can get him at 2-1 to come out of his group, not to mention 30-1 to win the whole thing. Sergio's the type of guy that you wouldn't normally pick to win, but he can get out of his group and get you 2-1. And because he's so good at playing match play, he's a worthy guy on this.
What group number is he in? He's in Group 8. And he's with Terrell Hatton, who's the favorite at plus 175. Lee Westwood, plus 300, who I did have him. Yeah, I wrote him one too many weeks. And you made that very clear last week that you thought that 2 weeks in a row at age 47 was going to be pretty tough to go 3 weeks in a row. Mike Wallace is the 4th player at plus 450. So of this particular group, this one seems to be the most wide open.
Yep.
And he obviously has a bit of a European flair to it. And I actually would lean with Sergio here because of his ball striking.
It is. He has great ball striking. We talked about Westwood last week fading off after consecutive weeks as a runner-up, and now he has a shorter week to get ready since the tournament starts on a Wednesday this week. Hasn't actually played this event well before. Matt Wallace has only played it one time and went 1-2 a few years ago. And Hatton, whereas he has finished well in this, and I think he'd be the biggest competition to Sergio, he hasn't played well since getting a top 20 at Abu Dhabi in January. So he hasn't really seen him much. He hasn't played well. So I do like Sergio in this group, and this group is a perfect microcosm of what this event is all about. You can go ahead and get a 2nd or 3rd favorite in the group to just play better and win the group, and then you got knockout stage, which is obviously exciting.
Sure is, and if you don't mind me picking your brain here, let's look at Group 1. Dustin Johnson is I think he's the only one that's minus money. John Rahm is plus 100 in Group 3. But Johnson's playing with Kevin Na, Long, and McIntyre. Now, I guess if I was going to take a long shot here, given the history that Dustin doesn't normally come out of the group, it's either Na or McIntyre.
Well, if you go to, it's a good thing you're picking my brain. We actually just posted these picks about 10 minutes ago on ESPN Chalk. One of the picks I gave out was Kevin Na at 100-1 to win the whole thing and 333 to win the group. DJ did win this all in 2017. Didn't come out of his own group in 2018 and 2019. There's no value in picking DJ. Kevin Na advanced to the quarterfinals in 2019, the last time it was played, and the round of 16 in 2017. So 2 out of his last 3 appearances, he's won the group, and you're getting 333 for him to win it. We obviously know Kevin Na had that really bad hole at TPC Sawgrass 17, withdrew, and then didn't play last week. So he has a lot of rest, and you're getting 100-1. It's not just Na versus DJ. If Kevin Na can get off to a good start and beat DJ tomorrow, I really think he can, even if he halves the group, I really think he can come out and win this group. And then you have 4 rounds of knockout stages where you can work in any sort of live magic or hedging opportunities for a guy who's 100-1. He is one of the picks I have in the column that's up now on ESPN Chalk.
And he would be a good money roll, too, in those head-to-heads.
Absolutely. You can roll
for
that
sure
a couple of times. So
Austin Country Club is where this is being played. I think it's, the 4th or 5th year it's been there.
So 16, 17, 18, 19, this will be the 5th year if you don't count.
Okay.
Doesn't count.
And like so many other Texas courses, your strokes gained on the approach. Scrambling, I think, actually is a premium at this course as opposed to the last 2 courses we talked about. Mm-hmm. And of course, tee to green is always important, but I don't think you have to be a bomber here. They do have the par 5s are long. They're what are they, 560 and longer, I think, David, and then they have 3 par 4s that are under 400.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to be a bomber. We talk about this every week that you have to have good iron play. And when I handicap this event, normally you're talking recent form, shot course history, and metrics. I take a little bit off the metrics this time only because it's a different format. So yes, being good tee to green, being good on approach is good overall, and usually that gets you over the course of 72 holes. The cream rises when it comes to those metrics. You only need to beat the guy that you're playing next to you. So if you can have better metrics than the guy next to you, you literally could be 63rd in metrics as long as you beat the guy who's 64th. But they do matter. Course history matters. Event history matters. Recent history matters, as well as match play history. And I look at one player in particular who I think has all of the tools to win this. He's done well before. He's played well recently. He has a group I think he has an easy time coming out of. And the metrics match up with 17th in shots gained tee to green, as well as 15th on approach. My guy, Paul Casey, 22-1 to win, 150 to win the group. 11 appearances this event, 2 runners-up, 2 losses in the final 8. So he's made the final 8 4 times in 11 appearances. He's won his group 3 out of the 5 times. He's played this in Austin. And you look at the rest of his group, Webb Simpson, obviously a higher-ranked player, has never played well at this Austin course. Mackenzie Hughes and Taylor Gooch have never played this event before. So to me, Paul Casey is, to me, the best bet to get out of the group at plus 150, facing Webb, who doesn't play well here, 2 guys who have never played it before. Casey just has to be better than them the next 3 days. And then you get into the match play, heads-up action. He's played well before, plenty of Ryder Cup experience, plenty of good experience at this course. If you look at the totality of all the things I'm looking at, Paul Casey is the one who fits that mold the most for me.
That is incredibly interesting because I actually have Tommy Fleetwood making the final against Paul Casey. I'm going to bet both of those. And then I have, unfortunately, I'll respectfully disagree, but so far I'm going with Fleetwood. But I can definitely see Casey being a great bet to win this thing. He's what, 22-1?
22-1, and I do have Fleetwood winning his group, but just Casey is my play to win the whole thing.
And that's a great group too, I thought, with DeChambeau in there plus 110, Siwoo Kim plus 350, and Rosner plus 600 is a serious long shot, obviously. But yeah, Fleetwood against DeChambeau, whoever wins that is going to have a commanding edge. And Fleetwood is that European guy. It's a ball striker, can move the ball, and he's not going to be intimidated by DeChambeau, who probably is twice as big as he is. I think Fleetwood's 145 pounds. He can still bang at 320.
Yeah, and DeChambeau hasn't played this course really, really good before. My final 4, like I said, I have Fleetwood coming out of his group. I have Casey facing off against Colin Morikawa in one of the semis, one of the best ball strikers on tour. And on my other side, I have Louis Oosthuizen, who's going to be in a very, very difficult group that involves Justin Thomas and the finalists from 2 years ago, and Kevin Kisner and Matt Kuchar. But Oosthuizen, who has 2 runner-up finishes in this event, he has played this event very, very well. And I have John Rahm in the other matchup in the semifinal. I think Rahm, the only one standing in his way, according to my bracket, is Rory McIlroy, who I think will come out of his group, but I don't think will advance past the quarterfinals. So I have Oosthuizen, Rahm, Casey, and Morikawa, and I have Casey beating Oosthuizen in the finals, and John Rahm taking home the 3rd place trophy versus Morikawa in that consolation bracket, as we call it.
I can't argue that. I love the picks. Sergio is, I kind of like him more this year than I have in previous years, and I think maybe it's because he was part of my group at Sawgrass that helped me win some bucks there with the DFS, because he did play well that first day, but then whether it's the putter or his age or both, or the focus just isn't as intense as when he was 18 years old at that PGA Championship event. It just seems like he's coming into better form and more consistent. So in that bracket of Group 8, I think the public will probably bet Tyrrell Hatton, but I think I'll lean on Sergio to at least get out of that Group 8. Mm-hmm. And then one that I really didn't have any feel for was Group 6. Schauffele, Scheffler, Jason Day, Sullivan. So Sullivan's plus 700.
That's a tough group, and Jason Day has the most experience out of all these guys. Day has gone far in this event multiple times before. He just isn't playing very well. Scotty Scheffler is a really good ball striker, and Xander Schauffele seems to be in the top 10 at every event you play. My pick to come out of this one is Jason Day. I'm actually surprised he's fallen so far to 44th in the world rankings, but I do think this is just like McIlroy, and actually have Day and McIlroy squaring off in the round of 16. Two guys who have played well here before, two guys who have been in the top of the world before, and two guys who are struggling right now. I do think they win the group, and then they face each other in the round of 16 and have McIlroy coming out of there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Day. I like McIlroy in his group only because I don't think the group is very good with Cam Smith not playing well here, Lato Griffin never playing here. Ian Poulter, match play wizard, no doubt about it. There'll be a lot of public money on Ian Poulter, but here's a guy who wasn't even in the qualified field. He had to get in based on other people dropping out. Poulter in. Poulter hasn't had a top 15 since October. Hasn't played very well, but with match play, if you want a flyer, Poulter's probably your guy in that group because McIlroy's struggling. Smith hasn't played here before, and Griffin has never played here before. So Poulter would be a good flyer. I just worry that he hasn't played very well lately. Neither has McIlroy. So that group is probably one of the weakest when it comes to current form. But I think Rory's good enough to come out of it.
And they do match these up, for those that don't know. Like the winner of Group 1 will play the winner of Group 16, etc., just like in the basketball. So that would put...
Handicapping this event, I find it very difficult to look further down the line because you and I do this for a living, and you could handicap all 16 groups, and you may not even get half of them right because it's such a crapshoot. So if you're only going to get... It's not like the NCAA tournament where, all right, you pretty much know who's going to make it to the round of 32 and 6. There's going to be upsets, but you're still going to get a majority of the field correct. Like with all the upsets, I still got 13 of the 16 Sweet 16 teams right. I'm not getting 13 of the 16 right in the golf, so that makes it that much tougher to see who's going to win down the line. So I'm concentrating more on the group stage, and then after that, I'm saying, okay, here are the guys who are going to win the group, and here's guys I think can go even further. But you almost have to do a reset on Saturday once the field of 16 is set. Then go ahead and take your futures because a lot of these futures are going to be gone by tomorrow. All it takes is one bad matchup to have a guy be out of the event. So I would concentrate on group play first, maybe take a few flyers while the price is right. You're not going to get 100 to 1 on Kevin now once he makes the Sweet 16. Take a few flyers like that. But then when you want to actually pick guys to win the event, when it gets down to 16, fire away.
Yeah, I love that strategy too. So you have Casey and I have Fleetwood. I guess we'll have to bet a beer again on that one just for the heck of it. But it wouldn't be fair if we didn't just see how you were doing with the college basketball. Because I'll be honest with you, I went 0-3 on Sunday, and Saturday was 2-3, and I can't remember a more I got hit in the face. I started feeling like I was dumb. I bet Florida.
Sorry.
I lose, but I don't just lose. I kind of lose in a horrific fashion. You know what I mean? It wasn't because of bad calls or bad handicapping or bad analysis. It just like Oral Roberts was just much, much better, I think, than anybody had ever thought possible.
Well, Florida should have won that game. Obviously, I'm an alum of the University of Florida, but they changed their strategy with 10 minutes left in the game. Every time they pushed the ball up the court, Oral Roberts had no answer for Florida when they ran. And for whatever reason, maybe it's because they had a double-digit lead, Mike White decided to slow it down, which took Trey Mann completely out of the game in terms of what he was doing with running. They couldn't hit a shot in the half court, and the last 10 minutes were about as ugly as possible. I was texting with my brother, and I said, as long as we don't do anything dumb, we're in the Sweet 16. And they did exactly what I feared. They did something dumb. They slowed the ball down. They played half-court game. They're not a half-court team. I'm not the coach. I can't figure out why they did that. But I apologize on behalf of the University of Florida for your loss. To answer your original question, the tournament got off to a little bit of a rocky start on Friday. I lost money on Friday. Saturday was arguably my best day in years. I went 9-1-1 betting on Saturday. So
awesome.
I haven't had a day like that in a long, long time. Sunday was back and forth, ended up on top on Sunday by a little. Monday got off to a good start with Illinois-Chicago upset. I then lost. I actually had the over in the Gonzaga game as well, so I actually started out. Actually, Illinois-Chicago was Saturday. My bad. I was Sunday, so that was
Right.
what was part of Sunday's win. Start off with the Iowa loss on Monday. Had the over in the Gonzaga game. Then I gave it back with having Ohio, which ended up not being a very good pick. But finished the day strong. I did have Florida State, Alabama, and USC, which put me in the black for Monday. So happy to say that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday were all positive, while Thursday was a little bit down. But overall, about 12 units up on the tournament. So it's been good. I've hit 4 windows so far where you take a dog or you take a total, and it's doing so well at the half that you get an advantage of betting the other side and give yourself a small little window. And I've hit 4 of them so far, 1 on totals and 3 on teams like Kansas, who, I have Eastern Washington, huge lead at halftime. You're getting 10.5. Go bet the other side and shoot for the middle. And it was a pretty big middle and was able to hit that. Luckily, because Eastern Washington had that last putback that won us the middle. But it's been a fun tournament. It's been interesting. I'm glad there's sports betting, because with the way Florida lost to Oral Roberts, I might be officially done with the tournament if I didn't have anything to wait for.
I wouldn't blame you. I guess the bet I had, and I'm getting very much into the live in-game betting. And when Arkansas was trailing 33-19, I wasn't sitting at my desk. I actually was hiking with my Red Fox Lab. Pulled out the app, and I said, "Oh my goodness gracious, this is plus 4.5." Mm-hmm. And of course, Arkansas was the dog at that point. And sometimes people have to understand when the lines are so fluid, they move quick. So don't get frustrated if they change on you and you have to hit submit again. But I figured at that point, if I got Arkansas at pick, that was a great value. Now, obviously, I didn't forecast a 17-0 run. I just happened to, I just happened to be very, very lucky. And then, the other one, which I think this is the reason I lost on Sunday so badly, was, and what I did. I was, pre-stage on another show, a good friend Rob Vino, and it was the Ohio State Oral Roberts. 1:20 to go. I'm looking at the app, and I literally said, "Oh my God, look at this! Ohio State is minus 1,000, and they're only winning by 2. Who in their right mind would lay 1,000 to win 100?" So then I right to Oral Roberts, knowing that they're the best free throw shooting team in the nation, and I pulled the trigger on it, just pizza money, and that was one of the most thrilling victories I've had, and it had nothing to do with the money. It was just that, went overtime, Oral Roberts won, plus 625. Sweet. But then I made the mistake of putting it on Twitter, and the betting guys must have seen it, and Sunday was, 0-3. And pretty much none of those 3 were really even close. Well, the Florida game was. But, Oklahoma State pretty much got smoked by Oregon State. That shocked me. But I'll tell you what, the Pac-12, I think, has surprised anybody who follows college basketball. Even if you were a fan of that conference, you have to be impressed. Mm-hmm. USC beat Kansas, held them 51 points. The previous biggest loss in an NCAA tournament by Kansas was 15 points in the history of Kansas. So USC doubled that. And that's just mind-blowing.
It's been an interesting tournament for sure. I still have a couple of live futures. I have Arkansas and Florida State winning their respective regions, so hopefully those will pay off. Still alive in our bracket challenges, and happy to hear you mention Rob Vino. I don't know Rob, but I know his son. I work with his son at ESPN, so we have at least common.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Worked on the, so that's good.
Yeah, that's right. I had forgotten that part, but yeah. So one quick question: does Creighton have a chance against Gonzaga? And question B to that: do we just now bet Gonzaga every game through the final?
Gonzaga is the best team in the country. I know I had said on this show before it started, Baylor and Gonzaga versus the field. I would have taken the field. Now that we're down to the 16, If it was Gonzaga and Baylor versus the field, I'd probably take Gonzaga and Baylor with only 14 other options, a lot of which are lower seeded or higher seeded teams. I really like what they're doing. They got out and got smacked around by Oklahoma in the first few minutes, and then battled back. And I mean, they shot 49% in that game, and that was the worst shooting game they had all season. Think about that for a minute. 49% shooting was their worst shooting game of the season, and they still won by double digits. So Gonzaga is really, really good. Baylor is finally playing like the Baylor of early part of the season before they had the COVID scare. Those are definitely the two best teams. You know, Michigan showed that they're here to stay by rallying and beating a really strong LSU team. I actually had LSU winning that game, so I took it on the chin on that one. But when looking at the bracket, I still think it's Baylor, Gonzaga. I still like Florida State. I think they're a really underrated team. I do like Arkansas, as I said. Wouldn't be surprised to see that being the Final Four, which is the Final Four that I picked. But one thing I do want to throw out there, like, they may be an 8 seed, but that Loyola Chicago team is really, really good. They're really good. They arguably are better than the team that went to the Final Four 3 years ago. They're good. I mean, they took a top 3 team in the country and smacked them around for 40 straight minutes. That wasn't a hang around and pull one out at the end like Abilene Christian versus Texas or Oral Roberts versus Florida. They went in there and kicked the crap out of Illinois. Big Ten champs, number 1 seed, top team in the one of the top teams in the country. That was as impressive a performance as we've seen in this tournament. And you know, that bracket is opened up, but they got Houston at the bottom. Houston plays Syracuse. I think Loyola is a 7-point favorite in their matchup in the Sweet 16. Wouldn't be surprised to see Loyola come out of that region and make it to the Final Four where they would get Baylor. You know, that has visions of what Butler did back in 2011 when they had the 8 seed and they made the run to the finals and lost on the missed shot at the end. You know, Butler could have done it, and I'm not going to sit here and be surprised if we're talking in 2 weeks and Loyola Chicago is in that Final Four or even tearing down the Nets. They're a good squad. So if there's still value on the number, I would think about playing it right now.
And of course, they have Sister Jean too, which is that's more than the 6th man in the stand or the 12th man in the stands.
One last, for sure.
One last one, and then we'll call it a show here, David. Villanova. They lose Gillespie, their star player. I thought they would be able to plug and play based on the bench strength that they have. A couple 4-star recruits there. And again, a credit to Jay Wright and his brilliance as a head coach. He gets them together, and they look pretty efficient right now. And I'm pretty surprised that this line is plus 6.5 Villanova against Baylor. So, you know, not that I would ever want to see your Final Four become 3 out of 4. This is the one game I think that really sticks out to me initially here. We have a lot of time to look at it, but between now and game time, but Villanova, with Jay Wright, it's just one of those teams that could pull it off.
I mean, they were a top 10 team in the country to begin the season, so they deserve to be up there and to have a shot. I still don't believe they can beat Baylor. I mean, we have to, reset expectations here. Can they win without Gillespie? Sure, but they've also beaten the 12 seed and the 13 seed so far, and Winthrop isn't the strongest team in the world, even though everybody was on them. In North Texas, good story, but not great. So to me, they looked really good, but I'm not crowning them regional champions off of beating a 12 and a 13. They beat Baylor. That's a different story. I don't think they're beating Baylor, though.
Yeah, I see your point, because the recency bias is against 2 relatively weak teams in the tournament. Or probably, you could say it another way, by Villanova had the first their first 2 games were probably the easiest of any team in the tournament, including the number 1 seeds. And it's going to be exciting.
How many teams have played a combination of 25 seeds so far? So
I still have Loyola in my futures bet that you might remember. I did it twice at 50-1 and 45-1. I also had Illinois, so that whole seeding kind of wrecked my game plan. But right. I guess for money-wise and profitability, the right team came out of that. I'm almost glad that Illinois got beat, because now I stand here, if I can get through one more round, then the word hedge comes up and how I'm going to play that. Or, like you said, you're not surprised if they might be cutting down the nets. So I have to determine where, my I don't have enough guts to go to the next round. I'll have to figure that out then. But anyway, David, you like Paul Casey, Morikawa, Oosthuizen, and Jon Rahm as the final four in this week's WGC-Dell PGA event, and you have Paul Casey winning it.
I do.
And
I also have other group winner plays. I'm playing Marsh Leishman as a long dog, Sergio Garcia as a somewhat of a dog. I have Rory as the favorite winning his group. I'm taking a flyer on Matt Fitzpatrick, who's second in his group. I say I have Oosthuizen, but I also have Kevin Na as a long shot.
Yeah, the Kevin Na is a good one because that's in Dustin Johnson's. That's bracket number 1 or group number 1. That's possible. That's a darn good bet. I like that one. And for me, for what it's worth, I have Fleetwood against Casey, and I have Fleetwood winning it. But I mean, this guy I'm talking to is so hot. It's hard to. I don't want to ever go against him. It's kind of like maybe how Villanova feels going against Baylor. So, it's all good. So anyway, for this edition, David, you want to say anything about what's going on over your end of things at ESPN? Any new stuff?
Yeah, we got the golf column is out. It's on ESPN Chalk and D. Bearman ESPN, and we put it out there. We have David Purdom had a nice little wrap-up of how the books did this weekend, and a little story about a guy who put $10 on a parlay and won $33,000 on betting a whole bunch of dogs in March Madness. So he won some money, and then we'll have our UFC picks as well as NBA picks out tomorrow as well.
And make sure you watch that Daily Wager at 6. I'm telling you the truth. It's one of my favorite shows, and it's on before any of the shows that my wife wants to watch, so it's perfect.
It won't be
so thank you, David.
Due to the women's tournament, it won't be on until Thursday, but we'll be back on Thursday. So.
Very good. And thanks for being part of the show again. I really appreciate it. And for the Predictive Playbook, I am John Ryan, and may all the wins be yours.